Welcome back everybody, and today's video will be a countdown of my top 10 squishies to squish for stress. This is just my personal opinion, and only squishies that I own will be counted. Obviously I can't tell how effective a squishy is for stress if I've never owned it or if I don't have it to show you. So no squishies that I have since sold off will be counted, only ones that I currently own in my collection. Let's get started. The first squishy that I will show you guys is a classic. So I'm sure everybody remembers when this squishy hit the market and everybody freaked out. It is a fabulous squishy and I highly recommend getting one. Doesn't matter if it's official or one of the Aridi brand or even some other brand. They're all more or less made the same way. So the reason this squishy is super effective for stress is that it's really soft. The texture gives it this very nice, delicate look to it, as well as feeling. Just the material that and the formula they use to make it is just very pleasing. I really like food squishies, so if something can replicate the feeling of having something that's real, a real food in my hand, then that just increases the enjoyment for me. And this was such an effective squishy that my brother wanted one, so I had to go get him one. So yeah, there's that one. Highly recommended. My next choice is this DIY squishy. Now, it does not have to be like a donut or anything. I just mean DIY squishies in general. There's something about fabric paint that makes the squish on this really satisfying. It's kind of the smooth but also hard texture, and when you squish it, it makes that sticky sound, and to me, I personally love the sticky sound. So whenever I squish this, it's just, I squish it for at least 30 minutes because it is just so satisfying. And what's great about DIY squishies, or deco squishies as well, is that you make them yourself, so you can design it however much you want, and then, you know, in my opinion, the tags add that extra bit of satisfying. So yeah, go ahead and definitely use fabric paint. Don't use any other paint because it will not adhere to the squishy or sponge that you're using. And it should make it slightly slow rising, so it's even more satisfying, which is really awesome. My next choice is an all-around rule, sort of. So I am a big fan of the Aridi bread because it is very soft, very hollow feeling. It smells delicious. It smells like sweetbread. And it's really fun to squish. I just love squishing this to its smallest condensed size. But in general, I'm a fan of bread squishies, so if you can find one that feels kind of like this, like the Cutie Creative bread, that's the reason I like this one so much. It reminded me of the Cutie Creative bread loaf, which I am a huge fan of. This is definitely one that I've been using for at least a year, ever since I got it actually. For stress, the shape of it is really nice. The squish is really nice. It's soft. It looks like real bread again. I'm a big fan of the realistic looking foods. Another one I can recommend that also has a similar texture to those two is the Eric Muscle Bread Loaf. And what's great about this one that the others don't really have after a while is that this one sounds sticky. Here, hopefully y'all can hear that. But yes, the Eric bread loaf is definitely a huge recommended one for me if you're a fan of the breads. I highly recommend bread. Just get yourself a bread. It sits on your desk so nicely. It looks so realistic. And it's just so nice to have to squish, especially with the size that they make them. My next squishy, I have misplaced the packaging for, but I will link it in the description where you can get this little guy. So this was one I was not expecting to love so much, but I do, and this is the Squishy Fun, I believe. Little chick, yes. Squishy Fun is at the bottom. And the reason I love this one in particular is because he smells like baby powder, perfectly round for that calming effect, and the squish is extremely satisfying and reminiscent of the Aridi turkey leg bread. It's very hollow feeling, but you still feel the squish. You can hear the squish. And I just love his design. He's just so simple. This is how you do a character squishy, in my opinion. Not the big old decorated eyes, not the really weird proportions, but simplistic, very Japanese style. And fat. That's the best part. He's not small, he's fat. So he's a good size for the palm of your hand. My next choice is kind of another all-around general rule. I'm a big fan of these stretchy toys, especially the pudding-shaped ones. I know there's some that have gelatin, or that look like gelatin with fruit pieces in them. Those work too. I personally just really like the puddings. So I had a pom-pom pudding one, and then I got a Gudetama one because I used the pom-pom one too much and it popped. But these are just really nice. They're a nice size. They fit in your hand really well. And then the squish is really satisfying. And then you hear the water swishing around. I don't know. There's just something therapeutic about it. And then you see little Gudetama in there. And it's just really enjoyable. And you can also stretch them. But I personally just really love to squish them. And then mess with the little Gudetama. Get in there. Okay. But also, this is my favorite stretchy toy. It's really satisfying of a shape, again with the rectangular going on. Whatever is inside this particular one, my original had a kind of softer filling, but this one keeps its shape and it's amazing. I personally really love these, and I think you can still get these somewhere. They're all made by different companies now, but the shape of it and just it's still really satisfying to me. I love these so much that I think I have 5 others somewhere. And because it is a sturdier material, it's not the foam that most squishies use, and it has a keychain, you can put this on your backpack and it's great for a travel squishy. My next choice is a classic. So here is my very, very used and tattered and defected Aridi Mango. He had a couple more accidents. And here is what it looks like brand new. I'm honestly not sure if they still sell these. I'll have to see. But this is my personal favorite to squish. It's always on my desk. And again, I love mango, so already the shape is really satisfying to me. It looks very realistic. The squish is really soft. You can hear the squish, especially with these rips in there. You can hear the squish pretty well because of that, and it has a very faint sweet smell, which is great. I love scented squishies, but if the smell is not the best, or if it's too strong, they just give me a headache. But yes, highly recommend this one. And even though it has a bunch of rips on it, it's actually very sturdy. I never have gotten a crack in the paint job or anything. No defects from squishing it, just defects from putting it down on a surface that stuck to it and I had to rip it off. But no defects at all in all the time I've had it with the paint. This is a very sturdy squishy. It'll last you a long time so long as you take care of it. If you have the Cutie Creative one, it works as well, but obviously the Aridi one is probably going to be cheaper. Puni Maru is one of my favorite brands, so they are my next pick for a recommended squishy. The thing though about Puni Maru is that although their squishies are very high quality, they have a very different texture in squishies. So let me explain what I mean by that. Okay, so here we have my Panda donut by Puni Maru. The squish is very satisfying. They're very slow rising squishies. Puni Maru always has a great quality. However, their texture is very different from other squishies. For example, this chicken is very soft. It smells like baby powder and it feels like I'm touching baby powder or a surface covered in baby powder. This as well is very soft, this mango, and then the cake is extremely soft. Even though it has the texture of the marshmallow, it's still very soft to the touch, especially this white part. The Puni Maru squishies have a particular paint, I think is what it is. It's matte, it's not glossy, and I think as a result the texture is slightly rougher. So it's smooth, but it's not soft, if that makes any sense. It makes sense when you hold them. but hopefully those of you who have Puni Maru squishies know what I'm talking about. I think the character squishies are an exception. However, I have this seal and it has the same texture. I'm not sure if the monkeys that recently came out have the same paint style done to them, but anyway, enough of that. That's just a note, but I highly recommend Puni Maru squishies, especially if you like scented squishies. They always have amazing scents. The only thing I would not recommend is their breads, unless you like realistic butter smells. For me, I got the cornet and it was just too strong. I could not stand the smell. It gets on your hands because it's that strong, so I cannot squish that thing without being like, ugh. No. Puni Maru is always a recommendation from me. You can't go wrong. Yes, I know they're a little bit expensive, but their quality is always top notch. What are we on? Number 8, I believe. My next choice is a classic. So this is just a personal opinion of mine. I'm a big fan of the toast shape. Don't know why, I just really like it. So I'm a huge fan of all the toast squishies that have come out. However, my favorite is definitely the Kuramoto brand Ayama Tokyo Squishy by iBloom and Squishy Japan. Not only are the scents very distinct, and the melon one especially smells really good, but the squish on this one is really satisfying. It's very thin, but I don't know, it's really fun. Because I like the realistic foods, I do enjoy when they put packaging that looks really realistic, like you got it in a shop. So here's the squishy, and I'll have to put this close to the microphone so y'all can hear that. That sound is just amazing to me, and the squish of this, even though it's really thin, it's so satisfying because you feel it. You feel the squish happening. And the great thing about these breads is that you can also fold them, do all kinds of weird stuff with them, and it's just... I absolutely love them. And then I have this cheap one because you don't have to get the most expensive one, even though the squish is really satisfying. But these cheaper ones smell really good as well, or at least the one I got from Miso Kawaii. And the squish is just as satisfying. And personally, I really like the sound of this bag that it came in, so I've just kept it inside and squished it like that. Maybe I'm just weird, but that's just my opinion. So definitely go get yourself a toast bread. It is so satisfying just having that, especially because of the size. You can just tuck it into your desk somewhere. My 9th choice in most effective for stress is a Manju bun. So this is another one of those generic things. You can find a Manju bun squishy almost anywhere now. So the reason I recommend a Manju bun is because the design is just really simple. It's very satisfying for obvious reasons. Not only does it have the perfect circle shape, but it also has this spiral indentation going around. It looks realistic no matter what color you do, or you can't really go wrong with a Manju bun. It always looks pretty realistic. So this is one that I got from my Banggood review package, and I like this one because the squish is very indented in there. It's a pretty thick squishy, so you always have a lot of space to squish. And the squish itself is very satisfying because of that, because it's so thick. Slow rising as well, and it's scented. The smell is really nice, a very fine sweet bread smell. It smells delicious. But personally, my favorite to squish has been for a long time this Chawa Manju bun. I don't know if these are available anymore. I highly doubt it. It's been a while. But this is my personal favorite and highly recommended. Mine is a little defective because it was in the sun, and it's old. But it's still very satisfying to squish this little guy. And it still has a very strong grape smell that smells amazing. So this is my personal go-to Manju bun whenever I feel like squishing one. I absolutely love it. Before we get to my last recommended squishy for stress, I'm going to list a couple of honorable mentions. First honorable mention is the Kibru chocolate bun. I didn't mention this earlier because This was kind of hard to find for me, and I'm not sure if it'll still be hard to find, so I don't want to send you guys off to find a squishy that you may not even be able to buy. But if you do find it, I highly recommend it. It's very squishy. It has the same kind of texture as a very heavy version of the Manju bun from Banggood, the yellow one. It's very squishy, very slow rising, typical of Kibru. They're an awesome brand. And again, it looks very realistic. It has the perfect circle shape. The design of it is very satisfying, symmetrical, and calming. And the only reason, other than the fact that it may be hard to find, that I didn't recommend this one in my list is because while the scent does smell good, to me it's not something I would want to smell all the time. So if I wanted to squish this a lot, I probably wouldn't. But if you don't care about that, then I highly recommend this squishy. It's really nice. The next squishy is this little marshmallow bun that I got from Miso Kawaii, who is unfortunately going out of business. Well, the squishy business anyway. This little guy is not as special as